Contractor's Secret Weapon weekly podcast with your hosts, Dave Negri. This program is dedicated to helping contractors, remodelers, painters, roofers, roof cleaners, and business owners in the construction industry gain an unfair advantage over the competition. This program supplies you with information that the competition doesn't even know exists. This session brought to you by ContractorsSecretWeapon.com.
Hey, this is Dave Negri with Contractor's Secret Weapon, and today we have a really exciting, interesting guest, Damion Lupo, and of Total Control Financial. Is a lifelong entrepreneur. He started his first business at the age of 11, and now is the owner of an 8-figure real estate company, multiple black belter, and sought-after financial consultant for high-profile clients. And Damion is interesting because he built a $5 million net worth in his 20s and lost it all, almost has completely rebuilt his wealth. And we talked about this a few minutes ago, 3 times. So he's done it. He enjoys sharing the lessons he's learned and the things he wishes someone had told him before he got started. And today he resides in Austin, Texas, where he's leading a passionate team of change agents. I love that word. On a mission to disrupt Wall Street and empower Main Street. His overriding mission and passion is to elevate humanity's power and control over their life by reducing the complex into the simple, creating a transparent conversation around money and investing. And so, Damion, I just want to thank you for being with us today and talking about your passion. And that's one of mine, too, is money.
I appreciate that, Dave. And it's funny how often money becomes the passion, whether you have it or you don't have it, you want it, you have too much, you have too little. It's just sort of one of those things. It's always out there. You can't get away from it.
Right. I was noticing that some of that you were talking about red arrows and green arrows. What's that all about?
Yeah, Dave, I was talking to one of my clients this last year, and we were working on some of their money strategies. And so it was a couple. The husband's been swinging hammers and building things, and doing it for 30, 35 years. And we were talking one day about their wealth, and this is when they had their money in the stock market. And so what I heard was, every day we look at the news and we see these arrows, like the newscasters jump on there and they say, today the Dow Jones did this, and there's a green arrow and the market went up, and they go, oh, we felt like we were richer, but then we got a little nervous because maybe tomorrow it's going to be a down red arrow, and today if it's a red arrow, then we feel poorer. And what we noticed is that we're on this freaking roller coaster, and our emotions and our angst and like if there's an election this month, we go, oh my gosh, what's the market going to do? And there's going to be an arrow experience. And I listened to them and I went, you are not the only ones that are going through this. I totally get that because I've been wiped out in the stock market several times, and I was on the roller coaster. So they said, we don't like it. How do we get off this thing? And I said, well, there are some options. It's going to take some work. I mean, you guys are smart. You've been out there and you work your butts off. So you don't have any problem with engaging and learning what you need to know. I mean, this particular guy was building beautiful houses, and I said, if you want something different, I can teach you how to take control and get off that roller coaster and start driving your financial future. And they said, get us off. Where's the ripcord? And so now they don't care. Green arrow, red arrow, purple arrow, no arrow. They don't give a crap because they're controlling their future and their money. If you control your money, you have a lot more options to control your future and what your life looks like.
Oh, I would imagine. I know when you just talked about the elections, one of the guys that was working on my house the day after the election, he was just like comatose. And he's walking around. I'm going, dude, what's the matter? He goes, don't talk to me. I go, what? You lose your best friend. He goes, the market crashed. I says, it's the election. I said, well, it doesn't matter who won or lost. It would have happened at any election. I said, just go home, take a deep breath, and it'll bounce back, He says, but you can't afford to be in this this shape.
No, and truly, I think there's just been an overriding lie that if you work hard and hand your money off to somebody, like we've all been told. I was told this as a kid, and it's been out there. It's the rule. There are people that are smart that know how to invest, and then the stock market becomes the synonymous connection to investing. And then people just work. And the problem is, especially when we're working, because I've been out there. I remember I literally had a job moving rocks in a field one time. So I know what it's like to basically bleed for a living. and so you do that and you work hard and you're playing by the rules, and then you go, well, wait a second. I mean, is this really going to give me security? And even like these particular clients had $1.5 million in the bank, and they were freaked out because they go, we don't have time to go build up $1.5 million if we make a mistake. And that's really what happens with people that are, for all of us that are working hard, and especially in the trades, we're working hard, we're making money, and if we're diligent, we're saving some up, and then we go, well, what do we do? And we've got to have a smarter plan than handing it over to some quote unquote advisor, or which really, I mean, these advisors, they're salespeople. They're selling us their stuff. They're making a commission. If we lose everything buying that stuff, they still made their commission. They're going to go sell some more of it. It doesn't matter to them, but it sure does matter to us.
Right. It's like, they buy and sell, and that's what they get. That's what they get paid for.
Absolutely. And that's not the right plan for somebody to have financial security and prosperity and abundance. They need a better plan, and so that's what my whole world is about. I mean, I went through years where I didn't really have a plan. I just had a focus on more, which is why I got myself in so much trouble in real estate investing. I just need more, another $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, and eventually I blew that up because I didn't have a foundation. And what I needed was a different foundation of thinking and vision, and that's what I like sharing with people. It's what I want to help people understand, that there's a different option, and it's really a decision to do it different, to play different. We were one of the funny things is, like, when we think about alternatives, we were talking about self-directed IRAs, and that seems like a pretty good alternative. We have some control over our stuff, and most people have heard about IRAs or maybe self-directed IRAs. And the funny part is that I hate those things. And I hate them because there's an option that's 10 times better, where you have 10 times more control. It's what the entire company is based on, where the contractors and people that are working with their hands, they get real estate, and with real estate, there's this opportunity to use leverage. So like in the stock market, you want to invest $1,000, you can buy $1,000 worth of stuff. You want to go buy real estate, you can have 90% debt. You can have 10 times as much property as you put in it with cash. And with the IRAs, the problem with that is, if you invest in real estate, if you actually are buying property and you use debt, you get taxed even if you're in this tax-deferred vehicle, and it can be like 40%. And
wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, most people have never heard that, and if they do it, they get surprised with this enormous tax bill inside their IRA. And what we created was something called the EQRP, which is a qualified retirement plan where people can move their money from their IRA into their plan, have the same checkbook control, no custodian because you are the custodian, and you can take out debt on property that you buy. And when you make money, there's no tax. It's literally like free money from the government, because the rules are different for IRAs versus qualified plans. And so if you can do it, almost everybody can get that type of plan set up. It makes no sense once you know about it to not move it over into that type of plan. And I mean, this is why we're so excited, because we give people control, and they can go do things with real estate. They can you can borrow $50,000 out of your plan anytime you want. So it's like you created your own bank. And
I was just going to say that. It's like you created your own bank.
Yeah, it's freaking awesome, and nobody's. So then the next question is, well, wait, how come I haven't heard about this?
Well, because they don't want you to know.
Yeah, well, and it makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
they're not going to get paid.
Yeah,
that doesn't work for them.
Well, it's a joke, but it's really not. They say, the reason they named them brokers is because they keep you broker.
Yeah, I always heard that they're broker than you are, but I think they do keep you broker.
Yes. But no, that's awesome. So and I've over the past couple of years have been looking at different things, and one of them was, and I didn't know anything about this, but it was another vehicle, but you actually became your own bank through an insurance company. Right.
There's some strategies there, like the bank on yourself concept, and those are really cool. That this gives you the power to have. I mean, you're literally holding the power in your hands. Where you have a checkbook and you go invest, and there's some amazing opportunities to use the Roth portion of it, where you invest and you're never paying taxes ever I mean, on anything. It doesn't matter whether there's debt or it's real estate. People, a lot of people love this because in this vehicle you can buy physical gold and silver, and you're not forced to have it held in a vault by some custodian in Delaware or whatever. You can actually hold it. You're not allowed to do that with an IRA, but people love that. I mean, I do too, because you're holding it. Nobody can mess with your investment because it's in your hand, in your house, in your safe. I mean, how much cooler does it get to be able to control your stuff at that level?
Well, that is awesome, because that's one of the reasons that I like self-directed IRA, because it has kept me in control as much as I could be. But now there's another vehicle that keeps me more in control, which I'm loving.
Oh, it gets better. It's like one of those commercials where the guy's pitching something. Wait, there's more. You know?
There's more. Well, tell me. Yes, I want to know.
So people that are investing with IRAs, they typically they have an IRA. They can invest $5,500 or $6,500, and that's great. So over 20 years, you can save up $100,000. And I mean, I know that's exciting. You can invest $100 and maybe do well. But you're kind of stuck. I mean, $100,000, let's be honest, over 20 or 30 years is not that much money.
No.
And what you can do with an EQRP is you can actually put aside $54,000 a year. So it's 10 times as much as an IRA. So over 20 years, you're talking about $1 million instead of $100,000 just in what you've put away. And imagine how much real estate or precious metals you could invest in and what that could grow to. So everything about it is 10 times better. I mean, it's why I get so riled up when I hear about people doing other things, and I go, "Why would you do that? There's a better option," and they just don't know about it. I mean,
well, that's it. It's the education part that I'm sure is your biggest challenge.
Yeah, it's funny. I talk about the Wall Street roller coaster where people are trying to get off that thing as fast as they can for good reason. I mean, I guarantee it's going to crash. It has to, because the boomers are required by law to pull all this money out of their 401ks. So knowing that that's going to happen, how do we get it?
Yeah, but how are they going to get it if it's being held in stocks and nobody wants to buy those stocks?
That's it. So then the next question is, what do I do about that? And my suggestion is you move it over and you have checkbook control inside your EQRP. And people go, okay, there's this little roller coaster in their heads. They say, wait, that sounds too good to be true. And so they're a little skeptical. I mean, I've seen this talking to people in groups, and they're sitting there and they're staring at me and they're wondering, what's the catch? And I go, well, you got to be responsible. And they go, yeah, but it still sounds too good. And I say, well, here, and I give them one of the books that I wrote a book on this with my tax attorney, and they go, oh. And then they realize everybody around them is doing it, and they go, oh, so this is real. And then they get really ticked off because they did it 10 years ago. They're like, damn it. And so they'll say, give it to me. And a lot of times they have self-directed IRAs, and what happens, they move it over, and they're not being feed for writing checks. They're not being feed for getting income. All of a sudden, all those fees go away. And then their next emotion is total bliss. They went from total skepticism to annoyance that they didn't do it 10 years ago to total happiness to where they've got control and they're not being feed for everything that they do, every breath they take. So
and now they don't know what to do with their money, right?
Yeah, so then they go, okay, now what do I do? And really I like to keep things as simple as possible.
Sure.
And really look at things that we can understand. And for most people, I think that it's easy to understand a gold or silver coin in your hand. It's easy to understand a house that somebody has to live in.
Right.
It's a little bit more complicated when you're talking about private equity or derivatives or the stock market. That stuff's confusing. It's so manipulated, and you really don't have control. I mean, I'm a big control proponent, so
I'm with you.
You have those options all of a sudden if you look at this type of option.
Well, when I look at the stock market and everything behind it, the only one that wins is the computer.
Computers are getting rich.
Yeah, I know, and I'm going, I should be a computer, but that's not going to happen. But I like your going back to the very beginning where we make our money and then we don't really pay attention to how we just give it to somebody to take over for us to manage. We work so hard to make it, and then we want someone that we don't really know or trust because they're smarter than we are. But I think sometimes, I'm sure you see it, that common sense plays a big part in everything, but most people don't use their common sense.
That's true. It's unfortunate, but what we do is we tend to do things that other people are doing because it's this survival tribal mentality that if we stick in the crowd and we don't stick out, if we just are there, then we'll be protected. I mean, it's a very natural thing that happens. And if everybody around you in general and all the media is saying this is what you're supposed to do and invest for the long term and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you should run. But we get stuck in doing that stuff because we think it's safer. And especially when we're working with our bodies and really, I mean, we're stressing our bodies out. That's not something we can do forever, and we have to have something that's going to continue to pay us down the road. We've got to learn about things like cash flow, and we've got to learn about like real money. And if we're just putting our money in the stock market, there's no real cash flow there, and it's not even real money. It's just all this money is being printed by the Federal Reserve and the government. So we've got to get smarter than the conventional wisdom, and so that takes some time, and it's. That's why I love this so much, because we can give people the power, and then we start giving them tools to create that ongoing residual income and have real money, which to me, gold and silver is real money. It has been for thousands of years. And I just like that. I'm
so with you on that. I mean, I buy gold and silver on occasions. And it's kind of funny. I saw it somewhere on Facebook. It was really weird. And so they went out to some college students out in California, and they gave them a choice. They could either have an ounce of silver or a box of Hershey's chocolates. 99% took the Hershey chocolates.
That's awareness, right? That's not having a clue.
It's not having a clue. And where I was listening to somebody's podcast, and they were talking about how all the economists are saying gold sucks and, it's not worth anything, and And then they go to a classroom of, first and second graders, and they ask them, what about gold? And they say, yeah, come on, innocent says gold's better than an economist.
Yeah, I'm with that. Sometimes we just have to step back and say, okay, what actually makes sense? Does it make sense that this pile of paper that's been printed and made up out of thin air is actually worth more intrinsically than something that is rare and unique that the whole world wants, that central governments are piling up in mass quantities? Yeah. Let's just be honest about the conversation, and instead of taking whatever the mass media or the Wall Street institutions want to tell us is the truth. It's just not.
I have fun with we'll get a new bank teller in every once in a while, and I'll have fun with them. I'll walk in and I'll write a check, and they'll give me cash back. And I said, "Do you see anything wrong with this?" And she goes, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "I'm giving you a worthless check, and you're giving me worthless money because it's a dead instrument, but I can go buy a cheeseburger. Do you see anything wrong with that?" She goes, way above my pay grade.
Yeah, just kind of checking out, not even thinking about it.
No, I know. I know. I did that with the guy that I buy my gold and silver from, and I gave him cash, and I said, "Are you having a problem with this?" He goes, "Yes, most definitely."
Yeah, you probably wanted to convert that cash right back into metals as fast as possible.
Yeah. But there again, we don't think about the things that we deal with every day, and the reason I buy gold and silver is just more of an insurance policy.
Right. And that's how people should really think about it. They should be thinking about it as a solid place to store cash, because cash can be manipulated, but gold and silver, the real gold and silver cannot be manipulated. You can't just make it. I mean, there's this way to use particle accelerators to turn lead into gold, and it costs about 10 times as much as the gold is worth. So that's not going to happen. It's real. You can't just make it up out of thin air.
No, and like you said, it's matter of fact, that's just happened with isn't it with India? They just had a big problem because they converted. They're trying to get all their people to give the government their gold, and they're going to give them interest on their gold, but they all wear it.
Yeah, it is part of the culture. It's they're and that's one of the interesting things that's happening. That we're right at the $20 trillion in debt, and interest rates are going to rise. There's three that are set up. The Federal Reserve has talked about how there's three that they're going to add on. They're going to bump a quarter point 3 times in 2017. And ultimately, this is going to become a problem for people. And there are countries around the world like China and India that are hoarding mass amounts of gold. what's going to happen with the currencies is really unpredictable because like right now the dollar is really strong. It's really just the least weak one of all of them out there because they're all based on just fiction. It's just all printing.
Yeah.
So we've got to be smarter than just doing things the way we always had and storing up some cash in the bank. We've got to get more sophisticated, and that takes a commitment to going out there and learning something new and not just listening to the salespeople that call themselves financial advisors.
Yeah. Right. No, I understand completely. This has really been awesome. It's pretty awesome altogether. Because I'm a firm believer, and I've talked about this before on the podcast. I'm a firm believer in multiple strategies of marketing or multiple streams of marketing, but I'm also a big believer in multiple streams of income. Mm-hmm. Because if I fall down and get hurt at work in one business, then I'm screwed. But if I have other businesses or other incomes that are coming in, then it may not hurt as bad.
That's right, and that's part of the taking control and not putting. There's something valuable. I want to say it was Warren Buffett that talked about not diversifying or you put your stuff in one basket, all your eggs, and then you watch that basket really closely. And I get that, and I also understand that if you're exposed to certain things, like if you just had say some rental property in one little town, and that town died or something,
right.
like Detroit. You have nothing else, you could be in a lot of trouble. So building up over time multiple things is awesome. I think the mistake people make is they say, well, I'm gonna have my business, I'm gonna invest in this particular business over here, I'm gonna have some rental properties, I'm gonna invest in the stock market, I'm gonna do multi-level marketing, and they do 15 things at once because they read Robert Allen's book, and none of them works because there's no focus on one at a time.
Right.
So it takes time to build them up, and then as you do, you have these multi-legged stools that can survive one of the legs getting cut off.
Well, it's there again. It's learning or finding a passion or something you're interested in, and and learning that, and then doing something with that. I remember I was at a seminar it was a couple of years ago now. And the guy that was doing the seminar, his dad was in Australia, and he invests his money, some of his money, in penny stocks in Australia. And his dad knows about the mining industries, so he invests heavily in that in penny stocks. So he said one day I get called. It's like 2:00 in the morning, and he goes, my dad says, we just the stock market went up 3 cents. And he goes, you're kidding me? You calling from Australia to let me know that the stock market went up 3 cents? Are you kidding me? He goes, but we had 400 million shares. He goes, he says, buy me a beer.
No kidding. Wow.
Yeah. So that was just one of those things. But there again, he knew what he was dealing with because his dad had grown up in an industry. He knew everybody and everything, and he knew how that market worked. So, he became an expert in that. But,
Yeah, there's something about seeing success with other people and their stuff, because there's somebody or some buddies that have made millions or billions in anything we can think of. And if we just try to replicate the system, the thing that we're missing is the psychology and the risk tolerance and the risk assessment. So, for example, in the stock market, there's a million ideas, different techniques and strategies, and people will take those things and they say, okay, I'm going to use this and I'm going to trade, or maybe it's even real estate, it's something. And what they're missing is the psychology training and the position sizing. What I mean is like the amount of your wealth that you're going to risk in any one thing. And that's literally 90 to 95% of your success. It's not the system. And what that takes, what you were describing with your friend, is they've mastered the psychology and position sizing. They know that thing. It's not just their system, because it's almost an extension of who they are. And so you have to go really deep into things. If you go shallow, you're going to get your butt kicked. That's just reality.
So let's take that for a second and go, all right, so you lost all your stuff in the beginning. What did you have to do to retrain your brain?
Well, the first couple of times this happened, I was playing in the stock market. I thought that would be a great plan. So I went out there and I learned about margin. Like, if you take out margin, well, the problem was I did margin and the thing dropped in half, which meant my entire amount I had invested in was gone because I had a 2-to-1 margin.
Right.
So that was one.
That's worse than a mortgage.
Yeah, it was a little brutal. But you know what? It was when you're being young is a great time to make mistakes. It's a little bit more challenging when you do your margin and you lose all your money when you're 50 or 60 years old, because then you're thinking, crap, now how do I do that? How do I get all that money again?
Yeah.
So the stock market wasn't that devastating. It was more annoying, and I was basically going, God, I'm stupid. When I did my real estate stuff, I built up a portfolio. I went from zero and built it up to about 150 houses, and it was about a $20 million portfolio all over the country. And when the markets collapsed, the water went out. I found out everybody was naked, including me, and I went, oh, oops, that's a problem. What happened? And what happened is I didn't really build the base based on the foundation was not based on strong ethics and morals and a vision that was sustainable. It was really just a consumption. It was like, okay, I'm gonna do these deals. I'm gonna have these rental houses. I'm gonna eat up all the equity. I'm not gonna let my investments flourish as a garden. I'm going to go hunt more, and so I had to take a time out. And part of the problem with being so aggressive and not being willing to have patience to grow something is that you tend to be aggressive and you do really stupid things because you get stupid and you get impatient. And so I took a time out, and that required me allowing the time for me to build up the confidence to go back into it again. For anybody that hasn't necessarily started with the real estate or is maybe early on, or even if they're late into the game, it's really important to have a strong foundation. And if we don't know what that looks like, that's where you look for really gray hair that has lots of decades of experience. I mean, no joke. That was one of the biggest mistakes was going out there and doing it and not being willing to really pay the right people for advice, even when I didn't want to hear it. The right mentor or coach or somebody that's there to give you advice is not going to tell you what you want to hear. I've paid those guys. It didn't help me. It hurt me a lot.
Right.
It's the guys that will tell you what hurts you, and it like you don't want to hear them, but you know that they're right, and they're doing it because they only know how to tell the truth. Like one of my mentors that works with Total Control Financial is that guy. He's been teaching and coaching people for years, and he's got 40 years of really doing it since he was like 17. He will tell you exactly what is real. He will not tell you what you want to hear. And people go, don't tell me that. I want to do something else. He goes, I'm telling you the truth. This is what's about to happen.
Yeah.
That's what we need. We need that type of feedback.
Well, yeah, you need people who have been there and can see all the warning signs. Because, and I'm sure I went through the same thing that you did in 2008. It was just like, I only saw what I wanted to see, and I saw cheap houses. And actually, when we were buying them at 50 cents on a dollar. So I'm going, there's plenty of equity until it crashed and all that equity is gone. I mean, like overnight. And you're going, what happened?
Right. You can't, that the equity is one of those goofy games. That's why I like the cash flow model so much.
Yeah.
Because I don't care what happens with the economy. I don't care who gets elected president or governor, or if the stock market collapses. If it's houses, or especially houses, people have to live somewhere. And if the house drops 40%, I don't really care because somebody's still going to be living there. I'm not trying to sell it, and that's the mistake most people get into because they go, I've got all this wealth. Well, you can't really feed yourself on your equity.
Right.
The cash flow keeps feeding you every single month, and that's the golden wealth ticket. It's creating that ongoing cash flow. And Grant Cardone talks about this. He was laughing at people that were getting all excited about their iPhones, especially millennials, but just anybody that was thinking, I've got a new iPhone, it's $1,000, and he goes, I'm not going to go buy one of those things every time they come out. I'm going to go buy another unit or two because that's still going to be there in 30 years. Your iPhone's going to be recycled into a paperclip or something, So think about what you're really doing and building and buying.
It's kind of funny that he said that because I was listening to a podcast not too long ago with Richard Kiyosaki.
Uh-huh.
And he was talking about how he wanted a Lamborghini, and his wife goes, you can go get one, but you ain't taking any money. Go build the wealth.
Yep.
And he goes, one of my biggest challenges is I've always thought poor. And he goes, I know that I'm not, but I've always thought poor. So he says, so I went and bought an apartment complex so I could have the $750,000 to buy this Lamborghini.
Yep.
And he goes, then I walk into the showroom and I go, what am I doing here? I've already got 3. I don't need another one. I turn around and walk out.
Yeah,
But he wasn't going to spend the cash.
No, and that's the key.
Yeah.
One of the great things about Kiyosaki's ideas around that, and what I love about the cash flow model, is that even when you do make the dumb mistake, so when I bought my Ferrari, because I thought that was the best thing ever, I saw Will Smith driving it in Bad Boys 2, and I bought the same thing. I didn't go and buy an apartment. I used my equity by cashing out houses to go buy the Ferrari, and the problem with that is that Ferrari kept costing me money every month, and I had killed my goose. So it would have been fine. If I had my apartments and houses and they were paying me, you can go do something stupid like buy a Lamborghini, and then next month, hey, your assets are still paying for that thing.
Right.
But it's when you build up cash and you go buy it on a depreciating asset, you're really just killing yourself slowly with that strategy. It's a terrible strategy, and it's what most of the population uses.
Yeah.
Kiyosaki's is way better. I like that plan.
Yeah, I like the cash deal myself. It's like I learned that one of the biggest reasons that I lost in the market is because I got greedy and wasn't paying attention.
That's right.
So live and learn. It's just, and I don't begrudge it because I just learned a lot, and it hadn't stopped me from making income. So I'm in good shape.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
So, hey, this has really been awesome. I really love talking about this stuff. How can our listeners get in touch with you so that they can learn more about the EGRP?
The EQRP.
EQRP. Okay, EQ. I wrote it down wrong.
Yeah, it's. Well, I'll tell you what. They can visit us at totalcontrolfinancial.com, and I'm going to put a link on there just for your listeners, where if they go to totalcontrolfinancial.com/Dave, then there'll be a place where they can get a copy of the EQRP book, and it'll give them some nuggets to where they'll probably start challenging maybe what they were doing, and if it's a good fit, they can reach out and we can see if they qualify for setting up an EQRP. At the very least, they're going to have some really cool information that's going to change their thinking a bit. So if they'll just go to totalcontrolfinancial.com/Dave, I'll have a link there for them to get a copy of the book for free.
Cool, because I'm going to go and get it, because it's one of my things that I always looking at to try to create and preserve whatever I have. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I really appreciate you being with us. This has been a lot of fun.
I appreciate you having me, Dave.
Yeah, this has been really fun. So we'll put all the links on our website, and this has really been cool. I really enjoyed this interview and the talking about finances. It's one of my, next to marketing, that's my next favorite subject.
That is excellent.
Hey, make sure you go by Damien's website, totalcontrolfinancial.com/Dave, and get your free book. And also, I remember a couple of podcasts ago, I was going to tell you all about something I was giving away because of our 3-year anniversary, and I keep forgetting to tell you about it. So go to the website, contractorsecretweapon.com, and download the free book that I've been charging $97 for, 15 secret weapon strategies to get into high-end homes and communities. And it's just my way of saying thank you for being a listener and supporting the show. So be profitable and have a great week.
Thanks for joining us for another weekly episode of the Contractor's Secret Weapon Podcast with Dave Negri. We would love to hear your comments about this episode, so visit us online at www.contractorsecretweapon.com and let us hear your thoughts. If you were listening via iTunes, please leave us a positive review. The more positive reviews we receive, the more other contractors will benefit from this show. Thank you, and see you next time here on the Contractor's Secret Weapon Podcast.